time and the presentation about the about the presenters as well. You can chair the session on these issues, and as and when the other panelist members come, we will include them, and you can take on the session as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, yeah. So good afternoon to everyone. And I think the same story repeated every time, everywhere. Whenever the session on migration is there, though it is one of the most important, given the past, present, and even future, but attendee we find always very less number. All right. At present, we have out of 5 listed people.
Hamid Ray.
Present Bharti Maurya.
Wait a minute.
Bharti Maurya, is it? Yeah.
मेरे को क्या
And
मालूम कौन सा देखा था, मैं
Maurya,
देखा था।
yeah. And Farooq Shah. So Bharti will start her presentation.
Okay, sir.
We have no, yeah, I think given that at present you both are present, so I think you plan around maybe around 15-20 minutes, okay? And let me also wait and keep time slot for those people who might join. So after 20 minutes, now it is actually 4 o'clock. So I think around 4:15 or 4:20 you should aim, and if we have actually all are only this one, maybe some attendees are there, okay? They also, I will request if they like to ask any question, they can also ask, in between. There are Priyanka Patel, S.K. Karim, Dr. Archana Rai, and one my colleague Anil Sutta, Professor Anil Sutta from our department. And I think Girimallika Bora, she is also presenter. I don't know why she is there. No? Girimallika Bora, yes. Anyway, we'll try to bring her
सर
back.
उन्होंने ब्राउजर थ्रू लॉगिन किया है तो स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं कर पा रहे इसलिए अभी आ गए सर आ गए वो
He's back here. Okay, yeah. So now we have 3 presenters. But anyway, I think we'll give Girimalika her number. Already these 2 people are in the line. So Bhartik, can you start? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, my topic is to examine the health and safety of migrant workers. Migrant workers with challenges of COVID-19 outbreak in the textile manufacturing industries. Here I got filtered by hello.
यस मैम
Yeah, that's fine. You go ahead back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So COVID-19 pandemic is the rapidly spreading disease and is given the rise to series of the negative consequences, response and emotions in the population to risk. And according to Desinger and Akhtar said that there are 100 million internal migrant workers who are having the sizable impact on the economics of India. And most of the male migrant workers are not residing with their family members. Their loneliness itself makes them fall prey for mental issues. The migrant workers found themselves trapped in the host region without access to the social protection and little money for the food and accommodation. Even those with a job may be taking reduced wage and living cramped worksite residence where social distancing is impossible and putting them great risk for the contacting the viruses. Many migrants live in the crowded accommodations and dormitories where social distance and physical distance are challenging to implementation, and they have limited access to use the personal protective equipment such as masks, sanitizers, gloves. I think my laptop is hello.
Yeah, your next slide is not it.
यस
I
मैम
think the
यस मैम
problem is my laptop is hanging.
You try that next page. No.
No, I'm trying.
Again,
Okay.
Ah.
Something is problem is here.
Again, you can restart. Which you can go back to close your presentation and again start the presentation.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to restart.
You will start, then it will be much time. Anyway, try at least 1-2 minutes. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, it's take some time, so shall we go for another PPT?
Yeah, then we can. Yeah, let. Yeah. So, can you? Are you ready, Mr. Farooq Shah?
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Yes. No, or he just came.
Yes, sir. I write give to Farooq Shah, sir. Please share the screen.
I'll share my.
Yeah, you also keep it on and let's see.
Do you see my slides?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, thank you so much for providing this opportunity, sir. Uh, uh, I'm really grateful to IAPS and all the organizing team and also people here for providing us this opportunity to present these findings about an important study that we undertook. Okay, so the topic for my presentation is impact of COVID-19 on lives of children from migrant families from Jharkhand. Uh, so I have this small screen on my slide. How do I remove it? Because it is not letting me see my slide. Uh,
Sir, can you make it a full screen, sir?
Anil?
okay. Let me just do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, I think
You're
this is
able to
fine.
see? Huh?
Yes, I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so on 11th March, COVID-19 outbreak was declared as a global pandemic by WHO. And after that, a lot of measures were taken by different governments. And India also took different measures, both central as well as the state governments, to contain the spread of COVID-19, and which included school closures, home isolation, quarantine, and community lockdown. And all of these measures do have an impact, of course, on adults, but they also have implications on the lives of children. And there existed very real fears of disruption and continuity of schooling for children of all the children, and specifically, of course, of migrants, because they're all the more vulnerable as compared to people who live in those who are in their native places. And also because of this lockdown, there were, many people were forced to undertake reverse migration, and they were forced to move back to their native spaces, and which had uh, implications on the access to different services by children. And so India already has a lot of vulnerabilities of children. So we have a huge proportion of children who are malnourished, and this pandemic and these different measures, is like lockdown, this had also had implications on the livelihoods of migrants, which is expected to have implications on the nutrition rights of children and their access to health services. And food insufficiency has also been a cause of concern during the pandemic, as we know all, because livelihoods of people were affected. This was the background. My slide is not moving. Yes. Okay. Save the Children actually globally launched Save the Children. It works in India, but it also works in about 120 other countries. And they globally launched a study to understand the implications of COVID-19 on children and their families. And Save the Children India also participated in this study. Among the 46 countries. And actually, we collected data from two distinct population groups. One is the Save the Children's program participants, which means the project areas in different geographies where Save the Children has been working. But apart from this population group, we also included and wanted to focus on the group of migrants as a subgroup. And this presentation, which I'm making here, is only about the data that we collected from migrant families. Objectives were to assess impact of school closures, home isolation, and community lockdown due to COVID-19 on children's well-being and education, to understand impact on health, learning, and protection rights of vulnerable families and children, and to assess the needs of vulnerable children during the pandemic and their perspective of the COVID-19 pandemic and the messages that they would like to give for leaders and other children. So these were the major objectives. In terms of methodology, so this database, how did we get this database? This database was provided by the government of Jharkhand. So Save the Children has had an MOU signed with Jharkhand state government, whereby they provided this database to us, and these were the migrants that had that were basically from Jharkhand, but in different regions of the country. And like for us, for this study, migrants means that those who are migrating or had already migrated back to their home state of Jharkhand due to COVID-19. Now, in order to understand to address the objectives of a study, the conceptual framework that was used in terms of thematic areas was the UNCRC, United Nations Conventions on Rights of the Child, that was used. And it basically focuses on education, rights, protection rights of children. So when we talk about protection, it means that there should not be any harm to children, physical and bodily harm, and they should also feel safe in their wherever they are. And health and nutrition and their participation rights. Are they getting enough opportunities to participate, especially in the decisions that affect their own lives? And Save the Children use this database to contact the respondents and collect relevant data. And this data was collected through telephonic interviews. And so enumerators collected this data and they entered this into SurveyMonkey platform. And this was collected in the months of June and July 2020. And approval of ethical review board was secured, and consent of children was also secured as part of the study. In terms of study limitations, so actually this tool was prepared to be used for across the country. So this was a kind of a standard tool, and we could not make changes to the tool in order to make it very context specific for migrants. So there is a lack of information about the experiences of migration by these families. And their exact place of stay at the time of data collection. So this is one limitation. Second is we could not collect information and data from children who live independently of their families. As we all know that there are a number of migrant children who live on cities of a street, for example, children in street situation. So we could only collect data from the families. Qualitative data, not much has been collected, except we just had few questions in terms of messages that we wanted to have from children as part of the quantitative tool itself. And we also could not collect data about the access of these people to government schemes and policies. So these are some of the limitations. So a total of 606 adult respondents, were contacted and the information was collected with them. And within these families, 235 child respondents were also contacted and data was collected from them. Of the total parents who responded, 9% were women and 91% were men. And among the children, there were 45% girls and 55% were boys. In terms of key findings, so if we look at loss of income, so nearly 91% households reported that they have faced the problem of loss of income since the onset of pandemic. Around 85% reported loss of their work, and around 64% reported that they would want to have some kind of employment support or job support from the government. Around 60% respondents reported that they are struggling to pay for food since the pandemic has happened, and 7 out of every 10 respondents cited the need for cash or cash vouchers, which could help them in order to meet their and address their day-to-day needs. We also wanted to understand the implications on education of the children in these families. So nearly 2/3 of children had access to some form of learning material. So schools were shut and these children were at their homes, but almost 1/3 of children did not have access to any kind of learning material in their families. 3 out of 4, every 4 children were not using internet for learning due to limited access. And we all know that how important it was during the school closures for continuing the education of children while they were at home. More than half of all children reported that they have had no contact from teachers since the closure of schools. So one of the important support could for the children while schools are closed and children are at their home could be from the teachers if they can contact through phone calls or through some remote mechanisms to support the children in their studies. But more than half of the children have not had any kind of contact from the teachers since their schools were closed. 8 out of 10 parents reported that children are learning little or nothing at all. So this was the perception of the parents of children that their children, since the schools have been closed, they are not learning anything. 1 out of 10 children said that they would not be returning to school or do not know whether they would return to school once schools reopen. So in terms of returning back to schools once schools reopen, almost 10% were not very confident if they would be able to return to schools once these reopen. If we look at the protection rights of children, so if we look at violence at homes, we did not ask direct question from the children, if they have been subjected to any kind of violence. Because that would have it was an online survey, telephonic survey, and it would have invited, in case some child had gone some kind of violence, especially sexual violence, then that would have required mandatory reporting as per the POCSO Act. So that is why we did not ask any direct question from children about they facing violence, but we did ask them if they're witnessing violence within their families. So nearly 17% children reported that there has been violence in their homes during the pandemic, and 3 out of 10 parents reported stress or violence in household relationships. And we all know that this kind of violence can have negative mental health related implications on children. 4 out of 5 children reported increase in negative feelings since the outbreak of pandemic. Nearly 18% of the parents reported that their relationship has improved with the children. And like one of the, in qualitative quotes, one of the things that emerged was that because parents and children were able to spend more time with each other during the pandemic, as the schools were also closed. So probably that could be one reason why they found improvement in relationships. 1/5 of all children reported being in touch with their friends virtually. So almost 80% of the children were not having any virtual contact with their friends. Around 42% children reported increased involvement in household chores since the outbreak. And this was the number that come majorly from the girls. 1 out of every 2 migrants shared that they were facing barriers in accessing healthcare, medication, or menstrual products. And more than half of them also shared that, especially those who had lost their income due to COVID-19, reported that they experienced difficulties in paying for healthcare or medical supplies. In terms of, we also looked at health and nutrition related aspects. So 3 out of every 4 migrants found it difficult to provide their families with nutritious food, which included meat, dairy products, grains, fruits, or vegetables. And 3/4 of the respondents shared that loss of income has affected their access to essential food items and food nutrition. So these were majorly the findings, key findings that we brought out from this survey with these families. And on the basis of these findings, Save the Children as an organization had some of the recommendations. So one was that migrants should also be made aware about existence and benefits of social protection schemes, and linkages with these social protection schemes by governments needs to be established. For education, there should be the migrant children who are returning. They should be enrolled into the schools in their source places. The teacher and school administration should be provided with the resources and support for continued education for such children. Parents should be made aware about the importance of ensuring continuity of education. They should also be made aware about the existence of schools that have residential facilities, and there should be effective, flexible, and inclusive digital learning programs for ensuring continuity of children. For protection, there should be community-level child protection system for all children so that they can report violence. Parents should be sensitized about positive parenting. And there is a need to strengthen community-based child protection mechanisms to identify children who have either dropped out of school or on the verge of engaging in child labor. For health and nutrition, there is importance of equitable coverage and healthcare services at both source as well as destination locations. There should be a mechanism to provide portable cards that can be used to access these services. Parents of migrant families should also be made aware about the availability of health insurance schemes of government. Migrants should be provided in vaccination program which is being run by the government for COVID-19. And there should be access to safe and nutritious food by continuing existing social protection schemes, including those that were announced during the pandemic. And finally, pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children below 6 years of age should receive take-home ration from Anganwadi centers. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much. Over to you.
We'll take any questions are there. Please just either note it down or maybe you can put on the chat box so we can pull those questions at the end. All right. Yes. Is it now? Bharti, are you ready? Hello, Bharti? It seems she is not in this one. Better come. Or this Giri Malika Bora?
Can you hear me?
Bharti, are you
Hello.
ready? Are you ready?
Yes,
But you check, no? Your slides are moving properly. Hello? अभी भी थोड़ा कांटेक्ट में थोड़ा बराबर नहीं है.
I think sir, internet problem from Bharti ma'am. So.
Yeah. Bharti?
yes.
Are you ready with your presentation? You're gone to Bihar. I don't know Bihar, which part. Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No, we are hearing and not hearing, both is there. The communication that no very weak internet connection. Yes. So what you do, why don't you start your presentation now? Yeah, we can hear. Otherwise, you start presentation. Move on. Yes.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah, you start it, and yeah,
Yeah.
one page already you are done. Just again you come back to your title. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. The safety of migrant workers with challenges in outbreak
Ma'am, we can't see
in
your
manufacturing.
screen, ma'am.
Yeah. Your,
Said,
no,
Ma'am,
you
just
said
stop the
that what is
sharing and
happening, we
again
are not
share,
able to
ma'am.
see. Yes.
Due to internet, ma'am,
again,
it's showing a black screen. So first stop the sharing and start again to share the screen. Now share the screen, ma'am.
Open up your, yeah. So otherwise, just again check and let this Giri Malika Bora. Hello, Bora.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you start yourself? You share your presentation.
Mm. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we are able to see. Just you enlarge it. Just make it full
Okay, sir.
full size one. Just go to slideshow and yeah.
Is it visible? My screen is visible, right?
Yeah, it is visible.
Uh,
You go to, yes, now it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening,
Future.
sir.
Yeah.
The title of my presentation is The Future Situations and Socioeconomic Profile of the Returned Migrants During Pandemic to Sonipur District of Assam. Yeah. So Assam and Tripura, they are both the net out migrant state from Northeast India. And according to Census 2011, there are 27.6% of the out migrants from Assam. They cite work as a reason of migration. And there are around 4 lakh out migrants from Assam. But it is a gross underestimation because it fails to capture the seasonal and circulatory nature of the migrants. And the migrants of Assam who mostly work in the informal sector without any job security, they were rendered jobless and forced to return to their home state during pandemic. And this survey, in this survey, we try to understand the socioeconomic profile of those returned migrants to a district called Sonipur district in Assam. And also we try to understand their future aspirations. The survey was carried out in the Sonipur district of Assam. It was a phone survey, and we tried to call around 572 respondents, which were selected based on random sampling. But we were able to talk to 237 respondents. So 237 is the total number of respondents that we have. Those phone survey was carried out in the month of February and March in 2021. The contact number of the migrants were collected from Migrants Labor Welfare Committee, which was constituted by different village panchayats to identify migrants during the pandemic. And just to give a snapshot of the entire respondent, we have total respondent, 237 total respondent, out of which 156 they came to Assam. They are the returned migrants, and 81 migrants stayed back in their destination, and they didn't come back to Assam during. They didn't come back to Sonitpur during COVID. And out of these 156 migrants who are the returned migrants, we have 47 who again went back to their destinations, and 109 respondents, 109 migrants who are still here in Sonitpur district. And out of them, out of the 109 respondents, we try to find out the their future aspirations regarding whether or not they want to go back to their earlier destination. So this is the sample that we want to understand the future aspirations from, and this is the total number of returned migrants, 156, and the total respondents are 227. There are a few broad sections of the questionnaire. There are 5 rather broad sections. The first one is the socioeconomic profile. Then we'll ask about the destination. There's some information regarding the destination area, and also their lives of the migrants in the destination area. And then we ask some questions regarding the pandemic and the migrants. When did they come back and how did they come back? Those are the questions that we ask in these sections. Then we ask some questions regarding their occupation and earning before and after the pandemic. Then we ask about the future aspiration of those returned migrants who are staying back in Sonitpur until when we took the survey in the last month. So this is the age structure of the migrants, and we can see that around 86% of the migrants are between the age group of 20 to 40 years. They are the young migrants who migrate at a very young age of 20 to 40 years. And most of these migrants, more than 90%, are male migrants. And we also asked them about the language they speak, how many languages they speak, and they said 60%, around 60% of the migrants, they speak 2 languages, and they speak their local language, and they also speak Hindi. As you can see, around 99% of the migrants, they speak Hindi, and only 80%, only 20% of the migrants can speak English, and 30% of the migrants can speak 2 languages. This chart shows the marital status of the migrants, and you can see more around 47% are married migrants, and 53% are unmarried. And among those who are married, they around 53% have kids, and the rest 47% they do not have kids, and they have 23% have 1 kid, and 16% have two kids. So this is the second section in which we speak about the information about their destination area, and you can see that most of the migrants in Assam, from Sonitpur district, more than 50% of the migrants, they migrate to Karnataka. Although, most of the SMEs, most of the migrants from Sonitpur, they cannot speak English. They can only speak Hindi apart from their local mother language, but they prefer to they prefer to migrate to the southern state of Karnataka, and around 8.9% and 8.5% migrate to Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, and 8.5% migrate to Delhi. So if you see the 3 southern states, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu, and also Kerala, which very, which follows by a very slight margin. They are the lead destination states for the migrants of Sonitpur district. And within the, if we look at the favorite destinations, the cities which the migrants prefer to go to, You can see the Bangalore is the city which is the favorite destination for the migrants of Sonitpur, and around 50% of the migrants they move to Bangalore. The second city which the migrants prefer is Delhi, but it has a very great margin from the first favorite city, that is Bangalore. Then we also ask them if the migrants are moving along with their family, or whether they have left their family back at home. And the intention was to know whether the family bond has something to do with whether they are returning back or not. And most of the migrants, they said that although around 47% of the migrants are they are only 47% are married, and among them, this is the figure which we have taken the entire sample, and only 16% of the migrants, they have moved along with their family. And just to put it into perspective, there are only 47% of the migrants who are married. And we have tried to understand their accommodation in the place of destination, and around more than 50% of the migrants said that their office, they provide the accommodation at their place of destination, and the rest 45% they they stay at a rented accommodation. Then we also asked them about the rent they pay per month in their destination area, and they said that 55% is the accommodation that is provided by the offices, and around 20% of them pay around 100 to 2,000 rupees per month for accommodation, and around 10%, less than 10% is pay 4,000 to 5,000 for accommodation in the destination area. Now, we also wanted to understand how some other characteristics regarding the lifestyle of the migrants in their destination area, and we asked them regarding the distance traveled by the migrants from their residence to their workplace, and we have seen that most of the migrants they stay very nearby to their workplace, and they stay within more than 50% of the migrants, they stay within 1 kilometer from their place of work, and more than 70% they stay near, or they stay in and around or 2 kilometers from the place of work. And this finding corroborates with the last figures that we have discussed, and around 80% of the migrants, they walk from their place of residence to the place of work in their respective destination areas. And around 10% they take public transportation. Only 8% have their personal vehicles in their destination area, and remaining 1% they take office cabs. This section is regarding the pandemic and the return migrants, and we wanted to understand when the timing of the return migration, and we saw that the maximum 20% people, they migrated during May 2021, May in the last year. That is when the government started the Shramik trains from the 1st of May, and that is when we saw the maximum percentage of the migrants coming in, returning back to the destination area, source areas. Then from May, the percentage declined, and more than 50% of the migrants, they took trains, and others took buses, bicycles, or some other kind of private sharing cabs that they support with their minimum they could support during the time of pandemic. Now, we also asked them whether they have received any kind of help, any kind of help during their returning back to their to Assam, and around 88% said that they received some kind of help. This help may be monetary, and they can be in the form of operation from the Gram Panchayat. And also, there are some migrants who said that they, in fact, have received very, uh, great support at their destination area. And some said that although their salary was stopped, some of them got food. Some of them were provided food from their employers. And one person, he said that although the office stopped on 24th of March, but the employer gave him 20 days advance salary in order for him to reach his destination, reach his home. And this migrant worker, once they came back, they also got support from the local NGOs, voluntary organizations, their neighbors, friends, and families, and who gave them rations and monetary support. The next section is regarding occupation and earning of the migrants. And this is the graph which will show the occupation of the migrants at the place of destination before the pandemic. And we have used the national classification of occupation given by NSSO, national classification of occupation for the year 2015. And the around 34% of the migrant worker, they work as a waiter in their destination, and 12% work as a gateman, unarmed security guard. Then 6.8% work as a building construction laborer and others, and this 5.6% they do not work. Then around 5% they work as a building housekeeper, as street food vendors, commercial vehicle drivers, etc. And we also asked them about their nature of the work, and they said that it is 96% said that it is annual work, and remaining 3% said that it is seasonal. The nature of the work is seasonal in nature. And we asked them regarding how many numbers of days they work per week before the pandemic, and 1.3% they said it is not fixed. Those are the people who work in the seasonal nature of work, and remaining 71% said that they work for 6 days in a week. 24% said that they work for 7 days in a week, and those who work for 7 days in a week, a large section of them said that they get incentives for working extra hours in their offices. And this is the monthly income before and after the pandemic, and you can see that this zero shows that the percentage of people who are not working, and this has increased tremendously after the pandemic. Before the pandemic, only 2.9% of the workers, they were unemployed, and after the pandemic, it has raised up to 29, around 30%. Now 30% of those migrant workers are unemployed, and the average income has also reduced before and after the pandemic. It was before the pandemic, it was around 14,368 rupees, but after the pandemic, it has reduced to 11,937 rupees. So these two things are happening. The average salary also has reduced, and also large chunk of population, 30% of the population are unemployed now after the pandemic. So recovery has not happened for those 39% of the workers. We asked them whether the migrants remit or not, and they said that 92% responded that they send money to their homes, and remaining 8% said that they do not remit, they do not send money, they do not send remittances to their homes. And we also asked them how much the amount as remittances. 44% said that they send around 5,000 to 10,000 rupees as remittances, and remaining 30% said that they send less than 5,000 as remittances. And we asked them whether they have received the last month's salary, and 95% said that yes, they have received the last month's salary. That is for the March 2020. Now, the future aspiration of the migrants, and among those migrants who has returned back to Assam, to Sonipur district, and hasn't returned back to their destination again, to their place of work again. Among them, around 54% among all the migrants returned back, they are around 54% of the migrants are now outside Assam, and 46% of migrants are still in Assam, in their native villages in Assam. And 29% are not working, 71% are working now. That is the current employment status of those migrants. And among those who has returned back, who is still in their native places, they are saying that 67% of them said that they wish to go back to their workplace, and 18% said that they do not wish to go back to their workplace. So, a close look at the profile of the returned migrants will tell us that large percentage of the migrants are engaged in whether gatemen, unarmed security guard, building construction laborers and others, building housekeeping, commercial vehicle drivers, stall and market salesperson, and manufacturing laborers, the occupation which have some form of regularity in pay. Based on our interaction among the migrant worker, we have estimated that a significant number of them in the age group of 20 to 40 years have no education beyond high school degree and have no usable skill to be absorbed in the local economy. The fallback option is farming. That is, that very livelihood that once forced them to migrate to the cities. The surplus labor is a characteristic of Indian agriculture with zero marginal productivity. A small percentage of those who return to Sonipur who do not aspire to go back to the city is due to the fear of the breakout of another epidemic in near future. So I stop my presentation now. Thank you for listening to me.
So thank you, Ms. Bora. Now our next presenter. Also, I think one Mr. Wasim Ahmad has joined of that presentation group. Are you ready, Wasim? Hello.
Hello, sir.
Bharti, you check, no? Huh?
Yes, sir. Can I start?
You can start, but तुम्हारा ये क्या नाम से नेटवर्क और कंप्यूटर दोनों जो है तो बहुत स्लो चल रहा है. Anyway, start quickly. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Bharti.
Okay. My topic is
आगे
the
बढ़ो.
exam. Yes.
आगे जाओ. आगे जाओ.
Okay. Okay. The main objective of this study is to seek attention on the workers' condition during the pandemic time and unlock time. And this time, the outbreak, social and physical distance is more important to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And it is also necessary to take safety measures like use of mask and hand gloves to avoid the spread of the viruses. Besides, most of the workers are working without using the sanitized PP kits and working in a unhygienic conditions. So they are more vulnerable for the respiratory disease. And For this data, we have taken the study area Surat. Surat is also known for the textile hub as a silk city or man-made fibers hub, where most of the textile workers in Surat city, their 10% are from Gujarat and 90% are from the UP, Bihar, Orissa, Rajasthan, and West Bengal and Maharashtra. And according to the baseline survey of the power loom sector conducted by Ministry of Textile in 2014, there are 0.49 million power looms in Gujarat. Surat has Surat has 0.47 million, means 96% they have in. These studies, cross-sectional study, who investigate the male migrant informal workers as a respondent in textile industries. Data has collected 409 migrant workers who participate voluntarily during the April 2017 to November 2017. And multi-stage stratified cluster random sampling has been used to obtain the data. And the sample units have been drawn from randomly selected cluster respect to the types of industry. For this study, Surat district from a western state of Gujarat has been selected, and this study self-reported, univariate and bivariate analysis has been done. And result and discussions. We have asked the 409 migrant workers about the awareness, knowledge, and use of the safety kits, where 13% say that they're using safety kits during the work, while 35% are aware about the health and safety precautions, and 37% knowledge about the personal protective equipments. While we asked why they are not using the personal protective equipments as a safety kits, then workers reported, nearly 94% worker reported their industry and management do not provide the safety kits, while 3.7, nearly 4% said they are not comfortable to work with the safety due to poorly fittings, and others are saying that they have used safety kit, but sometimes the safety kit damage, they again ask to the management committee of the textile industry, but they haven't laid attention about it. And second said, we know this, we are working in hazardous condition, but some are not using the safety kits. That's why I'm not using the safety kits. Now COVID-19 virus and respiratory morbidities. So as per the WHO guideline, the SARS-CoV-2 virus caused the COVID-19, and current evidence suggests that transmission of SARS-CoV-2 occurs primarily between people through direct, indirect, or close contact with infected people through the infected secretion like saliva, respiratory secretions, or through their respiratory droplets expelled when an infected person coughs, sneezes, and talks or sings. And during the field survey, it is observed that nearly 16.4% migrant workers, means out of nearly 67 workers from out of 409 are suffering from the respiratory morbidities, which caused due to excessive cotton dust, synthetic fiber dust, and chemical smokes on their workplaces. And for those workers who are facing the difficulties from respiratory health problems, they are more risk to get an infection of the COVID-19 viruses. And now we are going to check the all background of the respiratory morbidity of the migrant workers. Okay, this table 1 is indicating the socio-demographic profile of the migrant workers who are suffering from the respiratory morbidities. And here we are observing that nearly 37% are the age group of the 15 to 25, and 63% are from ever married group, and nearly 55% have completed their 8 to 10 standard of the schoolings. The living condition of the migrant workers in the host regions, where nearly 60% of migrant workers living without families, while 5 to 8, while in one household, nearly 5 to 8 members are sharing the one household, and nearly 91% are sharing one room, and 60% are sharing the room with less than 100 square feet of housing areas. And the living arrangement of the migrant workers who suffer from the respiratory morbidities, we are just cross-check the total number of persons sharing the room with the number of living room and area of house per square feet. Well, we are looking at nearly 2 to 4%, 2 to 4 number of workers living the 34% of persons living in one room, where they are sharing the less than 100 square feet room, nearly 45% of workers, and those workers were sharing the room with 5 to 8 persons. They are sharing one room. There are 41%, and they are sharing 40% are sharing less than 100%. Sorry, less than 100 square feet area of the room. Working condition of the migrant workers. That we are looking the work profiles, their use of the safety kits, and working place environments. Working place. If you in these textile units, nearly yarn and processing units, there 37% are migrant workers more vulnerable from the respiratory morbidities, and who engaged in textile industry before the 18 years, nearly 63% are suffering from it, and most of the skilled migrant workers, nearly 58% are suffering from the respiratory morbidities due to long timing in hazardous work, and those who are working in same industry have less or five years work experience. They are nearly 66% are suffering among them, and those who have total years of work experience in textile field, they are those less than 5 years or and more than 10 years. Both are suffering same percentages. Uh, the respiratory health profile of the migrant workers who reported the symptoms of the respiratory morbidities, where nearly 51% reported about the mucous membrane irritations, and their respiratory symptoms are like cough. 36% are suffering from the cough, wheezing and throat plays, 19%, chest tightness 43%, chest pain 33%, shortness of breath on physical work 12%, and 40% are suffering from the shortness of breath at rest. Well, most of the nearly 66% of migrant workers who are suffering from the respiratory morbidities, their BMI is between our normal means 8.5 to 25 BMI. And as per the text, according to textile units, the respiratory systems are in this chart. You can observe that majority of migrant workers who are suffering the respiratory morbidity are they working in a printing and dyeing processing units, where nearly 56% of workers suffering from the shortness of breath on rest, nearly 62% of suffering from wheezing and breathlessness, 30 around 36% reporting about the chest pain, 41 reported about the chest tightness, and 50% have reported about the cough. And the summary of the study, the continuous and long duration work in the contact of chemical fumes, cotton dust, and other airborne pollutants invite the respiratory and other respiratory morbidities. Only 20% of migrant workers who suffered from the breathing problem use the proper mask for protection, while others are using only chemical-based textile material as a mask to cover their face, which will be dangerous for the uninvited disease in future. 73% of work related to physical workload, which make them more risky who suffer from the respiratory morbidities. And safety and health measures. Hello. Safety and health measures play an essential role in any industry. The workers must be aware about the various occupational hazards in the industry, and management must take the necessary steps to protect the workers from potentially hazardous situations. Current pandemic situation and ignorance of safety kits at the workplace create significant challenges for industry and health. So it is important to provide a basic safety kit to all the workers for the protection from the spread of COVID-19 virus. And gathering the data from the field survey, it is clear that workers are more vulnerable from respiratory health hazard due to the lack of personal protective equipment and use the unhygienic materials for their health and safety. The limitation of the study, this study is self-reported, so there may be chance to the over and underestimate the prevalence of the morbidity. There are no clinical trials to test on workers, so bias and perception will be happen to concerning the morbidities. The study does not have any measurement scale for the measuring the intensity of the disease. This study only limit to migrant workers in the textile industry. And as is, for the recommendation of this study to provide personal protective equipment and proper and ventilation systems to minimize the airborne dust and other chemical agents from the morbidities. The government should create a communication strategy to ensure the preventive measures such as basic sanitary practice and hygiene get blended into day-to-day cultures. Industrial management provide sanitized and eco-friendly safety kits to the migrant workers. A behavior change practice among migrant population, especially for certain hello, that helps enhance the approach toward them and their co-workers. As per the guideline of the condition of the sleeping with no more than 2 people per room, and accessible toilet is not said unlikely to get the dormitories for migrants and also better for ventilation in the room from proper sunlight. Hello.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
All right. So is this Wasim Ahmad present?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm present.
Okay.
Uh,
So yeah, so you
I'm
finish
sharing
your
my slide.
presentation in by 10,
It
15
is
minutes.
visible, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, visible.
Okay, sir. First of all, sorry for that. I interrupt the whole schedule of presentation because I found some technical error in my laptop. So
Good. Go ahead.
please. Okay. I'm presenting here the elderly migration in India, pattern, characteristics, and reason for migration, and overall impact of COVID-19 on elder migrants. So as we know, the migration and aging process in the 21st century is the contemporary issues for all sectors and all researchers. Migration, with the increase of aging process, the concentration of older migrants also increase in the Western countries. So most of the researchers in the Western world focusing on the older migrants and their health issues and healthcare needs. But in India, mainly and as well as developing countries, mainly migration process occurs through the working age group population. So in our world, developing world, mainly migration focus only the male group, which are the working age periods. But here in India also, according to census 2011, reached to aging 8.6% of total population reached 60 and above. So here I trying to examine what is the level of pattern, overall pattern of elderly peoples which are age 60 plus, and what are their pattern, current pattern, their characteristics, and what is the reason for migration. And now the emerging the COVID-19 in the 2020s become the health crisis for the whole world. So overall impact, I try to relate some migration data with the COVID-19 cases in the world as well as Indian states. So I will start first. The here define the 60 elderly population which have the 60 plus age group. The Indian government of India adopted national policy on older persons in January 1999, which adopt the 60 years and above as elderly persons. So according to census of India 2011, 104 million, 8.6% people have the 60 above age group. And in this 53 million people of 60 plus are migrants, both which are migrated at after the 60 years and which are the peoples migrated relative to young age population, but now becoming growing the older as the aging in place. So we conclude here the migration of elderly population both all duration migrants and 0 to 9 between two census period migration 2001 and 2011 between migration and all duration of migration of older population. So objective is my in this papers to examine the level and pattern of elderly migration, their reason for migration, and explore the interstate migration of elderly population, and to examine the impacts of COVID-19 on older migrants. Data source, I use the secondary data of Census Data of India 2001 and 2011 for this one, and other data like COVID cases for online sources. In the census, migration data provided in this series, and question asked place of birth and place of last residence. So I use here the place of last residence questions for defining the migrants peoples. For the object methodology, use simple statistics for the to examine the level, pattern, and reason for migration. And interstate migration, I use the in-migration rate, which is this formula: total in-migration divided by mid-year population into 1,000, and net migration equal to in-migration minus out-migration divided by mid-year population into 1,000. And for the impact of COVID-19, we relate some migration data with the COVID cases. So result and discussion. Total 449 million, 37% population are internal migrants in India. And in this, male 82.9 and female 194.5 million migrated according to census 2011. This is the age pattern of migration in India. It shows the working age population, 20 to 40 age group peoples migrated more than the other age group peoples. And other graph shows the migration of by stream. So here the rural to rural migration is more dominated stream in the migration than the rural to urban migration, and other streams urban to rural, which is very low percentage in migration. And for last is the urban to urban migration. This is the migration profile of India. And now this is the table shows the level of migration of elderly population according to census 2011 and 2001 with all duration and 0 to 9 duration. According to census 2011, 53.8 million population considered as a migrant, which is the 34.7 million in 2001, which is an increase in percentage 55.3 percentage. And elderly migration increased 34.6 to 53.8 million from census 2001 to 2011. And migration percentage more increases in the urban than the rural between the census period. Here the migration stream of elderly population. So rural to rural migration of stream elderly population is higher than the other migration stream in the all duration. But when we look the 0 to 9 year period duration, the rural to rural migration is very low, and increase the rural urban to urban migration. So here the look the most of the elderly population, older population migrated to urban migrated population, then the rural to rural, and some of the very low migration from the urban to rural. And this graph shows the migration of elderly population with duration of residence by place of last residence. So here the migrations by duration of residence, less than 1 year, very less migration, 1 to 4 years, only 3.3, and 5 to 9 years, 3.46. So total older migrants, 0 to 9 year duration, only 9% of total migrants. And the above the 10 and above years, 80.6 6% of migrants, older people who migrated before the 10 years. And figure 6 shows the migrated of elderly population with age group wise. Here shows young elderly, which age group of 60 to 64 has a higher experience of migrated. Young age population experience the 36.69% of migration in total elderly migration, and 25% migrated to 65 to 69. So we can say the young elderly, which have the 60 to 70 years group, have experienced the more migration than the old people. So here the characteristic of elderly migrants in India. So economic activity in the migration of elderly population, mainly the non-workers who migrated, and only 23.28% migrated as a main worker. And when the literacy of elderly population, most of the 60% people illiterate, only the 39% to 39.2% people are the literate. And the marital status of elderly migrants, 0 to 9 durations, currently married, 64.9% migrated have the currently married, and 30.72% have the migrated widowed, and 3.6% never married in the migration. And here the figure shows the reasons for migrations. Census classified the regions as 7 categories: work and employment, business, education, marriage, moved after birth, moved with household, and others regions. So as we know, in the migration of young age population mainly migrated for the work and employment, business, education. But in the older population migration, moved with household have the highest percentage of migrations in the elderly group, and moved after birth is the second, and marriage is the highest percentage, 55.9% in the all durations. But when look the 0 to 9 year duration, moved with household, 38.24% of elderly migrated with the household member, and others regions 25.07%. So it's migration data not gives a concrete reason of migrations for elderly group. Here figure 12 shows the reasons for elderly migration with the migration streams. So migration stream rural to rural, 78.12% is migrated rural to rural stream, have the marriage region, and rural to urban 32.37% of migration as migrated for the marriage region. Work and employment in rural to urban 26.606%, and urban to urban region 21.3% is migrated for work and employment, 24.6% for marriage, moved after birth 26.98%, and moved with household 22.3% migration. Now next to the interstate migration of elderly population. Here shows the net migration rate of elderly in India, 0 to 9 year duration, rate by 1,000 migrated people. Here the Union Territory not included. Goa is the highest net migration rate, 19.33. Then Haryana, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Mizoram, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, and Bihar is the lowest net migration rate, negative net migration rate. Then Jammu and Kashmir, then Uttar Pradesh. It shows where the population negative net migration is the male migration, working age population migrated as negative rate, where the elderly population also migrated to as a negative rate, and where the population of working age have the positive net migration rate, there the elderly net migration rate also in positive. So now comes to the impact of COVID-19 on older migrants. COVID-19 emerged in Wuhan in December 2019, and in a few months it spread throughout the world. The first case of COVID-19 has been reported in India on 30 January 2020. A strong belief for the by the medical professionals to the control the infectious diseases is possible through the immobility and confinement like lockdown and social distancing. Through because of that, imposed the lockdown in all over the world, with including the India, have the many impact on the migrants workers, who's the only mainly the working age population, who suffers from lots, and they have lost their job, their shelters, and they fear for the infectious diseases. So, but the here I but here I relate to data of migration with the age group wise, because the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals calls for ensuring that no one is left behind, including migrants. Different age groups face varying vulnerabilities as both migrant and as part of certain period in life globally. About 12% of all international migrants are 65 years and older. So in table in this table, migrants in countries with the highest number of cumulative COVID cases as for February 2021. 10 highest country in the world which have the highest cumulative COVID cases and their migrant share of populations. In these 10 countries, 7 countries have the highest number of international migrant stock, and in there the migrant stock share of persons 65 years and older in migrant stock. 6 countries have more than 15% of the elderly population as an international migrant stock. India, very few, only 0.4% of total migrants in the international migrant stock. 4.9 million population in India as international migrants, but have the share of working age population 70.7, and the older person share is 21.6%. So here in India the older age population also in the high cases in India and international migrant stock. Now the table 14 shows migrants in state of India with the highest number of cumulative COVID-19 cases as of 8 March 2021. Here the top 10 states with the highest number of cumulative COVID-19 cases and their migrant percentage population. And in the migrant percentage population, we divided by the age group, share of working age migrants 20 to 59 years in total migrants, and share of persons 60 years and older in total migrants, and share of persons 60 years and older in total population. So Maharashtra is the top highest cases as till the 8 March 2021, have the 51% of the total population as a migrant, and in this 62% population as working age population, and 11.3% population as older migrants. And then Kerala, Karnataka, Arunachal Pradesh, top 6 highest state, more than 40% of total population have the migrant characteristics, and in this have the more than 60 above percent of the total migrant stock have the working age population. So these tables show the prevalence of the COVID-19 cases and risk exposure population as a migrant with by age. So I conclude my the overall presentation. The state main regions of elderly migration are moved with household, other and work employment according to census 2011. The moved with household is more in female migration than male, and work employment region dominated factors for the migration in men elderly. Chandigarh, Bihar, UP, Jammu and Kashmir, Manipur, etc. have the negative net migration rate, and Puducherry, NCT, Delhi, Goa, Haryana have the positive net migration rate. The state have less urbanization. Have the less urbanization, low infrastructure. Sorry. Transportation and low living standard experience negative net migration rate of elderly, and positive net migration rate means that migration is in higher than out. State have highly urbanized, good health infrastructure, good transportation system, and better environment for living and experience. Positive net migration rate of elderly migration in India. The migration and later life is determined by later life movement. So better understanding of elderly migration of any particular region is helpful for policy and makers and program implementation in various aspects of development. The coronavirus affects all group of people, migrant and non-migrant both, but the older persons have the higher risk of illness and death than other age group. Background and circumstances of migrants are the reason for discrimination at the place of destination, especially at the urban areas. In the world and India, the urban areas are the most affected by COVID-19, and the migrants persons in the urban areas are the higher risk of infection, lost job, displaced, and not access to health care. So better understanding of these data may be helpful for the limitation of this census data provide 10 years after 10 years time interval and not include the seasonal migration, and reason for migration categorize only 7 categories which are not concrete reason for the elderly migration. So I am stopping here my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Wasim, for doing a very detailed analysis. Now, if some questions are there in the chat by one Professor Anil Sutar, which you can check, Wasim, and also this one, if you have anyone you want to reply to that or you want to explain that relating to Farooq Shah study, he has put on question, and also to the this one. Any other question, if one has, we can open it. Maybe only one question I have to this Bora. Your title, I think, if you can reduce it, because you say return migrant and the socioeconomic condition. As you presented the whole thing, it was looking to me socioeconomic condition of return migrants. So maybe it looks better to you can think over. Yeah. And any other question relating to all this presenter, please please raise your question. Hello. Hello. Already observation, Dr. Anil Chandran?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Continue, sir. Wasim, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Anil Chandran, can you have any observation on
Yes,
the
sir. Yes, sir.
presentation or any
Yes.
suggestion?
Yeah. So we have 4 presentations in the entire session. In fact, all 4 were, dealing with migration and the impact of COVID-19. The first paper was by Bharati Maurya. In fact, she presented later also. I mean, because of some technical issues. But she was talking about textile manufacturing industry. Her major emphasis was on PPE kit, personal protection equipment kit, and it was not available. In fact, I was wondering why PPE kit was necessary in textile manufacturing industry. In fact, if you look at the disease profile, you can see that most of those people have problems with respiratory infections. And respiratory infections are common in manufacturing industry because of the the kind of work they do. Probably a normal mask or a face shield would be helpful to them. I think PPE kit was not necessary for manufacturing industry workers. That was my observation on that. And there were a lot of diseases mentioned in one of the slides. My worry was whether it was because of COVID-19, because you said impact of COVID-19, and I think these diseases are quite common in like respiratory diseases. So I was wondering how this data was collected. And then the next presentation was by Farooq Shah. It was a good presentation on impact of COVID-19 on lives of children of migrant workers. It was well narrated, the problems faced by families of children, and also interview was also done for children. It was well narrated. So I have no specific comments about that paper. Only thing was, have you looked at the increased stress and depression levels? Because you have some slides on depression, no, I think stress related. But my question was whether you have looked at the stress and depression levels among children. Especially that is very important because they were, there were a lot of problems related to isolation and other related issues and family issues you have rightly pointed out. So because of all these, there may be stress and depression. I was wondering whether you have measured it properly.
Should I
And
come
then-
in, sir?
No, 1 second. Let me
Okay,
complete and then
okay.
you can.
Sure.
So that.
Sure.
And the third paper was returned migrants of Sonitpur district of Assam. 156 returned migrants were there of those total migrants. I think 54% you said are from Karnataka. I was just wondering if that is a representative sample. Can please explain how you have selected your sample? And it is interesting to note that 88% of them received help during their return to their origin. That is very interesting because there was a lot of issues. We were actually reading newspapers and all related to problems faced by people when they return to their hometowns. So this is a good result that I see. And the last one about elderly migration, in fact, it is very interesting, very well analyzed study. But the only worry, probably only concern about this particular study is that the results are probably a little old because of, we have 2011 and 11 data are presented. And many of these aspects related to, migration must have been changed. And the numbers also must have increased drastically during the last 10 years, especially in relation to people who migrate for jobs and all those. So, and some of your graphs were very congested. Probably you can redesign when you publish. Please redesign it so that it is not congested and in a presentable form. These are my comments for the papers, and I thank IIPS and also DP Singh sir for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. I would like to hear some of the responses.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, I just want to say that I just collected the data, not now. This is the data is from April 2017 to November 2017. So I just connected this data with the pandemic time, and not the PPE kit, like not this kind of medical, but basic PPE kit like hand gloves, mask. Actually, I data collected in textile industry manufacturing, and I observed the condition of the textile industry. As per the Factory Act, they provide the most of PPE safety and health concern of the health and safety. But most of the industry in Surat, they are working in decentralized level.
Okay.
And they are not following any Factory Acts properly. Even I have observed that the workers are working 12 hours job. And 7 days they are working, including child labor also, but they are mentioning their age is 18 years. But in Gujarat, there is a law. Any workers who are below 18, it is a child labor, and they will, it will be strictly, they will take the action. But most of the, if you are observing the Surat textile market and some weaving industries, you can observe so many children are working there, 13 to below 18, means 13 to 18 years. And you are talking about the respiratory. Actually, PPE kit necessary there because when if you observe in processing units, there are most of printing and dyeing work. I have video also. I just collected data and some pictures also. If you want, I can share here. So I have done many
fine,
work.
I think, yeah.
Huh?
Okay. Yeah, that is fine. Yeah.
So many workers, they are using without working in most of chemical colors, without using any shoes also. So they are also more vulnerable of the skin morbidities. And I collected the data where too much environment is like too much difference. Like it's not a natural environment. You can easily smell it's like a chemical, and most of the time vulnerability. Even when field data collection, even I was vulnerable on this kind of morbidities. But I just want to,
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Farooq,
Yes, sir.
Farooq,
So,
sure. Yeah, please. Yeah.
yes. So actually, the thing which is about, increase in negative feelings that emerge from the study. So that was calculated on the basis of children reporting about, feeling anxious, feeling unhappy. So we did not ask directly about the depression because many of the children may not have been able to understand the meaning of that. But we did ask them, do you feel, unhappy or, more unhappy? So things like that. Yes.
My question was, see, there are scales which can be used among children to assess, depression levels and all. So
Okay.
probably you can, yeah, that is what.
Sure. No, that was not
Thank you.
used, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Any other comments?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Sir,
please.
yeah, you asked me about that. Yeah, you asked me about that 80% percentage responded who got helps, who got some kind of help. I did not separate the respondent who said they got help in the source area and they got help in the destination area. If I maybe segregate both of them, then maybe the picture will be very different, because most of the respondent they got some kind of help in their source area. Means after they come they return back, they got some kind of help either from the gram panchayat or from the neighbor. And in fact some government was requesting all the salaried workers to provide at least 3 meals or something, 3 days meal to the to the people who are less who are disadvantaged or who are migrating or who are so that sort of maybe
How did you collect
if
this data? What was the sample like? What is the sample that you have?
yeah,
you-
sir, I had to talk to people from the panchayat who work in the panchayat. This gram panchayat, they are collecting data for the migrants. This report is called Migrant Labor Welfare Committee, and some of the not all the gram panchayat they are collecting data under under this report, but most of the gram panchayat are collecting under the data under this report. And also some of the I haven't got data for all the gram panchayat because of the ongoing election. We have election starting from 27th, and I am still working on this report, and some of those gram panchayat are they are saying that they'll give me the data after the election, but that is my source of that is where I got the telephone numbers of all the migrants. And once I started calling those migrants, and some of them responded, some of them did not. And this 237 or 37 are the people who responded to my call.
Okay.
My
So probably
telephone
how many are there in
interview.
the list? How many people are there in the list overall?
Sir, I have called around 500, more than 500 people.
More than 500 people. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's it, sir.
All right. Yeah. Any other question, or otherwise we close, because now 5:30 also there is another plenary session, so you can join that. So thanks a lot to everyone. My co-chair Anil Chandran and other colleague from IIPS and all the participants. It was a good one. So I hand over to our Manoj.
Thank you very much, Chair, for chairing the session, Dr. D.P. Singh. Thank you, Dr. Anil Chandran, for being a discussant, and thank you, Dr. Kaushlandya, for being a rapporteur, and all the presenters who have presented. We missed one of the participants because I called the participant and there was some trouble in her home, so she could not join. So all the best for all of you, and best wishes from our side. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you.
this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. You can
Thank you
leave,
so
sir.
much, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So you can leave if you